Hello and welcome to the NDA podcast. My name is Justin Pearse and I'm the editor. Today's podcast is a special in association with Hivestack, and it's called Out-of-Home Strategies Within an Omnichannel Environment. I'm joined by two real experts in this space, Ines from Hivestack and Nigel from Taptap Digital. I'll get them to introduce themselves in a minute, a bit about their backgrounds and their company, but today we're going to delve into the fact that although out-of-home used to be a standalone medium, programmatic's kind of killed all that. And now out-of-home stands proudly as part of a brand's omnichannel strategy. So let's find out how and why. Ines, do you want to give us a bit of background to you and also Hivestack?
Yes, so I've been working for Hivestack for 3 years already. I started as BP Demand for Spain and Portugal. I launched the market with Nigel because we work together very close. And I had the opportunity to arrive to Spain and see, the evolution of the programmatic digital out-of-home in the market. Now I'm happy because I've just been promoted, so I'm now international.
Congratulations.
So thank you very much. International Sales Director for Hivestack. So I'm looking now after all global opportunities. So yeah, and also just to give a small detail, my background is pure out-of-home. So I've been working for the major out-of-home companies like Clear Channel, CBS, Global when it was CBS, Exterior Plus in Spain. So I have a very, very out-of-home mindset.
So it must be quite amazing to see this huge change going on being powered by programmatic. Nigel, a bit about you.
Yeah, Nigel Clarkson. I'm the Global Chief Revenue Officer at Taptap. As Ines said, we worked together for 2.5, 3 years as we were building out the programmatic capabilities of Hivestack globally. I joined Taptap in November, so still fairly new. Taptap is an omnichannel DSP, and I know there are quite a few of those around now. So one of the questions we often get is what's different about Taptap to other DSPs? And I think the difference with us is that we do what other DSPs typically do. We build up an understanding of an audience for a client using multiple different data sets. But then we transmit that data through a location lens, and we look at everything from a location layer. It's cookieless, it's future-proof, and that can then be executed across multiple channels, so out of home, but also connected TV, digital audio, of course, online and mobile. And that was what I think was really interesting for me, was to stay involved in the digital out-of-home world and help to work with a platform that's bringing digital out-of-home into the omnichannel conversation with other channels.
Great, thank you both. We'll talk about all those different channels as we go through. So I guess the main aim of this discussion is to let agencies and brands know why and how programmatic digital out-of-home is now sort of suitable by the part of their omnichannel marketing strategy. And omnichannel has become, it was once maybe a nice to have, and now few brands you talk to don't have an omnichannel strategy in place in their marketing campaigns or a wish to do so. So let's kick off and talk about what's changed? What suddenly made programmatic digital out-of-home sort of acceptable as part of a brand's omnichannel strategy? Ines?
Okay, yes. Well, first of all, let me give you a quick update of who we are in Hivestack. We are a full stack digital out-of-home platform. We cover the demand side with our own DSP, fully digital out-of-home, and our own SSP. So we are a full stack. We obviously work very close on the SSP side with omnichannels like Taptap, and we understand that what the digital out-of-home is bringing to the omnichannel buying plans is, for example, reach. Out-of-home, it's a massive reach medium, and obviously with all the digitalization of the medium, we are now seeing how omnichannel DSPs have access to all this inventory. Also venues, when I used to work in out-of-home ages ago, the venues were street furniture, transport, and malls, and that's it. Now you have a massive variation of venues from nightclubs, gyms, I don't know, whatever you can imagine.
I suppose you even have office blocks. I walk on my commute to work and walking around the city of London. Yeah, they're everywhere.
It's an experience. So you can, it's in the underground. It's everywhere you're walking. You can find a digital out-of-home screen. So this is great because this is bringing very valuable data. You have reach, you have a location. So it's good because you understand where your audience physically is, and you also can know where they are and what's their attitude. So they are in a mall on a Saturday afternoon, ready to consume, or they are in a traffic jam 8 a.m. in the morning on the way to their office. And also this brings all the measurability capabilities that digital out-of-home bring, that I think that is like an addition to the omnichannel ecosystem.
Okay, thank you. Nigel, same thing to you. I think that's what always strikes me. Out of home is so different now. Like my walk to work from where I live in suburbia to the office in Soho, it's incredible experience in the out of home media. So what's changed? Why is suddenly pragmatic digital out of home key for omnichannel?
Yeah, I think the main, there's two bits. It's really around technology and investment. So in order to understand how we've got to here, you need to understand the journey that's got there. So we started in outdoor a bit longer ago, like 25, 30 years ago nearly. And even then we had digital screens. But the CMS player was effectively a memory stick that used to jab into the screen and it would sort of serve some ads. And then there was CMS players, but they were still relatively remote. And most ads were served as a spot in the loop. It was sold as a fixed 2-week campaign, like normal posters, basically. And fast forward to now, and there were problems with scale. The super premium stuff like Westfield and the airports and Piccadilly Circus, Oxford Circus was all converted to digital, but not much else. What you're finding now is huge investment for media owners in building digital screens into other towns and cities, not just the major conurbations. There's huge opportunities for what we call place-based advertising clients. So if you have a gym, you have a golf club, anywhere where people go, there's an opportunity to put a digital screen now which can be connected. The cost of those screens has come down. So I think it's a combination of all of those things: quality, cost, and reach has built up. And then the bit that needed to catch up was the software bit. So companies like Hivestack, like Taptap, other people who are pure play out of home or omnichannels are now starting to lean into the outdoor space. So I think the challenge there, we'll talk about challenges, I'm sure, but out of home now has some similarities with other channels that are bought programmatically. So instead of buying a panel for 2 weeks, you're now buying a number of impressions. You're trading on cost per thousands, which sounds hugely radical for outdoor, but every other industry has been doing it for 20 years, right? So it's just that it's taken us longer to evolve into a space where the language of planning and buying in outdoor is now the same as the other channels. And the technology platforms now allow you to connect. So I think it's been a time of catch up, and now, which is why I think the growth in out of home programmatically has come so fast, because everyone knows what programmatic is, everyone knows what out of home is. So the challenge is just to educate about exactly how out of home works programmatically and how it's different to online programmatically.
Okay, so it instinctively works as another plank in brands' omnichannel strategies, but there are challenges. There must be challenges. I mean, Ines, what for a brand, what are the main challenges for making sure that pragmatic digital out of home is part of this strategy?
Yeah, well, I think that the main challenge, to be honest, is the educational process. So at the end of the day, when we arrive with the programmatic digital out of home, we find two buyers: the digital buyer and the out of home buyer. So the digital buyer is used to work with unique users. And I was like, no, but here we work on one-to-many. And the other way around also for the out-of-home buyers, that they also have like a more traditional mindset. So I think it's just a matter of education. And I think that they get it pretty quickly. They just have to try to run a campaign. They have to test a campaign. They have to see how it works. And then, it's the challenge becomes an opportunity. So I think that we are in an industry that, yes, we have challenges, but those challenges easily convert.
And what about people? What always kind of interests me is as these sort of big seismic changes happen, you talk about education, but I guess the types of people on both sides that can be quite different. So what's happening in terms of talent? Is there sort of evolution of people's job roles? Are people moving across from either side?
Yeah. So for example, for me, media owners in out of home. I'm going to talk about Spain. So in Spain, you have different media owners. You have like the ones that are part like big companies, and they have this international culture that they understand, how the industry is moving, and they are part of the story, and they are learning from the distance. And then you have the local media owner, the really local media owner that is investing a lot of money, and it costs them a lot to invest. And they say, look, okay, I'm going to digitalize the screen, and now why should I go for programmatic? Okay. And it's And it's important to make them understand, because sometimes they are afraid that they are going to devaluate the product, that they're going to sell cheap because they have the memory of digital experience that we had years ago. And what we try to explain them is that, no, I mean, out of home is such a premium product. The location, like it can be an iconic site, Piccadilly. It can be a street furniture. It can be in a bar. I don't know, whatever. So it's just help them understand and make them feel confident that that.
Okay, that all makes a lot of sense.
That's an amazing answer, because you just summed up all of the challenges for us before and now. It's all around education and understanding. And I think, we're at that collision point where agencies are trading all media apart from outdoor programmatically, and they don't really understand how and why outdoor is different. And out-of-home is not really doing anything programmatically. And the out-of-home industry generally doesn't understand how programmatic works. So we're at that point where increasingly the poster specialists in the UK and around the world are getting bought into the agency. So there's more sort of cross-channel understanding now. I think that one of the big areas of challenge is to help people to understand how outdoor can be bought programmatically, and the fact that sometimes it's not the same. As Ines said, when you buy an ad on a mobile or online or in social, it's a one-to-one. You're buying one play equals one impression. You buy an ad in Oxford Circus at 8 a.m. in the morning, you could have 60 people seeing your ad. So it's that one-to-many is a different way of doing it. There's no return path to the ad. So once you play the ad in real time, there's no cookie to send back to say, yeah, that person's watched my they've clicked on the ad, they've bought the ad, they've seen the video. So you have to look at other ways of understanding what people have done in the real world once the ad has gone out. I think there's enough similarities that there's some of the language and the nomenclature of programmatic is similar, with things like bid prices and DSPs and SSPs, and that's still an education on the outdoor side. But certainly, I think when you do that first outreach to a new market, it's very much education on both sides. And the demand side say, who have you got signed up on your SSP? You remember this, right? And they go, well, nobody yet. And they go, okay, well, come back when you have. And then you go to the media owners, go, this is a great opportunity. And they'd say, what demand partners have you got? And go, well, no one yet. And it's that Spider-Man gif, everyone's sort of firing at each other, waiting. The brave agencies will go first. Once the agency's there, once you've got the demand, the media owners generally will follow.
It's interesting that you say the first reaction is often that's programmatic of old, as they know it online. And obviously, programmatic online's had its problems over the years, up and down. Mostly kind of sorted out now. But do you think there's an opportunity for the out-of-home industry, the programmatic out-of-home industry, to kind of learn lessons from what's happened in the past on the media?
Yeah. We're like, I don't know, 9 years later down the road. And I think, again, you have to fundamentally understand how those channels are different to understand that outdoor's not going to go down the same route. So, wind back 9-10 years when programmatic started, what that did is it enabled long tail publishers with perhaps slightly less brand safe or slightly less premium inventory, no big sales team, no big brand awareness, to stick their ad opportunities into an exchange and sell them and get money from just being plugged in. And as a result, you had a very arguably lower quality long tail that you could buy cheap. And agencies and clients were able to package up. We all know about the fact that we all got hooked on clicks quite quickly. Outdoor, and we had that again when we went around the world explaining what programmatic out of home was on the SSP side, where media owners would say, "Well, I was just going to race to the bottom for prices. Okay. My pricing will get cheaper." But you control your prices. Like if you don't want to sell it lower, you don't sell it lower. And understanding that what we've done in out of home is we've converted the premium inventory first, not the long tail. It's actually completely opposite. So, you don't look at Piccadilly Circus as long tail. That's a super premium site that gets in news brands all over the world. Oxford Circus, insert premium site here. Some of those big billboards cost £200,000 to build. A digital 6-sheet costs £30,000 to build. You don't build them if they're not totally viewable and in an area where there's a ton of people looking at them. So I think we've done something very different. We've converted the premium end first, and as a result, that premium end there is there to be bought by the traders. So all of those issues with brand safety, viewability, you don't get them because everything in digital out of home is premium.
Is there a long tail in digital out of home, or does it exist? Sorry, I was going to say that's the unconverted stuff that we've sold before, right? That's the paper and paste billboard in a small town outside of London, and I often get asked, do you think paper and paste will be here forever? And I think it will, because you will. Okay,
yeah. I mean, there are small village. I won't insert a town because I might offend somebody, but insert small town in England or Spain here. there'll be a directional billboard to a local car dealer or a local fast food restaurant. It will just never pay for itself to convert that to a £70,000 euro giant digital billboard. So I think there definitely comes a tipping point where it gets to a level where the payback is really difficult. Everyone knows you fill London, Madrid, Barcelona, Valencia, Glasgow, Edinburgh with digital screens, you're going to sell them. It's super premium. It's massive numbers. There comes a point somewhere down the line, and that might be 100 towns down, that might be 200 towns down, where you just go, there's no payback here.
I think it's quite interesting that essentially programmatic digital out of home is all premium. And as we know, programmatic wasn't seen that way. What reactions do you get, Ines, when you're out talking to clients and partners? Do they get the fact that this isn't programmatic of old, it's a totally premium environment?
Yeah, they see. I mean, they understand. For example, something that we are seeing also is that digital out of home has seen the most premium. I don't know how to say it in English, but that it's difficult to reach, to be there because of the costs. It's expensive to run a digital out of home campaign. Not everyone can afford that. And what programmatic is bringing to those clients, to those brands, is like, hey, now you can do it. And you can do it in a very smart way. Because as Nigel was saying before, before we had to buy a digital out-of-home campaign, 15 days, 24 hours. Why? I mean, maybe Mondays and Sundays are not my day. So now brands are seeing that they can be able to access to iconic or to premium screens, street furniture, that they're very well located, that give you very good coverage, but only during specific moments.
Okay, interesting. I guess in the same way, often I think that programmatic in television, CTV, is now giving advertisers access to TV. They would have had that in the past. I guess it's the same sort of thing. So what we're looking at other channels like CTV or audio. What similarities are there in terms of the kind of journey that programmatic digital out of home is on? Because they're equally embryonic channels to many extents.
Yeah, and I think the premium publishers in both, you look at the wars between the sort of the broadcasters in CTV and the sort of the longer tail, CTV SSPs. There's an interesting sort of battleground there, but ultimately the premium inventory in both is sort of owned by seriously well-known brands that people and clients have trusted for years and known internationally. And they have seriously big and seriously expensive sales teams selling in a commercial model that they've always known. So suddenly to then, sort of pass that over to technology platforms to take over, there is a similar period of you're trying to do two things. You've got a kind of a foot in both camps. So out of home is still going down the traditional route. The vast majority, let's remember, is still actually sold in a 2-week slot on fixed sites. Clients booking 2-3 months in advance. And likewise with TV and radio. But the programmatic capability, I think for me, the big difference is around exactly that. It's the openness of what it does for a client and the way in which people can use the channel. And that's what we've always concentrated on, both Ines and I, in our businesses, is talking about why programmatic out of home is different to normal out of home. Because there's nothing wrong with normal out of home, right? It works. It still does a really good job. But for me, again, classic example, like a hay fever brand that we've worked with before, when pollen hits high or above, only then does a campaign get automatically activated. So you could kind of set and forget those always on campaigns that you get in online. We've never had them in outdoor. You picked a 2-week period and you hoped to hell that pollen would be high in that period, right? And if it rained for 2 weeks, then that's a nightmare. Whereas with programmatic, you can put it into the DSP, set and forget, and it only buys on days when pollen, or only buys when it's hot or the traffic is high. That way of doing real time execution of campaigns is impossible in real life. You'd have to get on the phone to every media owner for every site. And again, I think that's a similar sort of thing with how those other channels will. They'll still do a big broadcast job. They'll still do their big agency deals. They'll still go out and sell campaigns to clients who will just be happy to do radio as always. And I think what programmatic does in all different channels is allows you to understand the sort of the power of broadcast, but with programmatic precision. So instead of a campaign for 2 weeks, which is 100 sites, you might get a campaign for 2 weeks, which uses 500 different sites. But the times it uses those 500 sites are absolutely right for that brand.
I guess it is that precision and control. I remember sort of post-pandemic, and wow, I've even almost forgotten what the pandemic was. But out of home had its moment in the pandemic because brands could sort of turn on and off advertising, when they couldn't before. So this idea of precision, I guess, also real-time marketing. Every brand's looking for real-time marketing. That must be kind of quite powerful when you're out talking to clients.
Yeah, definitely, especially because clients now can make their campaign when it really is important to them. So it's not in the moment like the 14-day campaign. So for example, like with DCO or DMO. So with DCO, you can have like contextual situations and you can activate your campaign there. With DMO, with DCO, maybe you can leverage your creativity in terms of a high demand, or if there's been a score of a specific match or something like that, and how you can interact, especially with your audience there.
I was just going to say, sorry, it's really important to help work with clients and agencies to understand that this is about smarter, not smaller.
Okay, smarter, not smaller.
Yeah, so classic. You think about that classic online brief of targeting 27-year-old left-handed vegans in a Sainsbury's car park on a Wednesday. Like, can you do that? Yeah, I mean, we can. We could serve a mobile ad there. You can geofence posters at that time. But, we should always remember that what outdoor and telly do really well is they're top of funnel channels, right? They hit a lot of people. And while you want to be super precise with some of your performance comms in online and mobile, which is the right thing because you can be and you should be, out of home and TV still do a really good job of explaining something to people that maybe wasn't the target market. So when you get big broadcast brands that you might have specific audiences, but often the target market in outdoor is all adults or ABC One adults, right? Which is broad enough that we don't want to go down that micro precision route in outdoor where you go, well, this is great news. We found the 7 screens at 11:02 that are going to be perfect for our brand. And, you end up spending €12.50 and nothing's happened.
Nothing happens.
Yeah. So, outdoor at its very essence is still a amazing broadcast channel. It hits everyone. It's unskippable. You can't ad block it. It's brand safe. And so for me, this is one of the concerns that a lot of media owners have is it's just going to be smaller campaigns. And we say it's not about smaller, it's about smarter.
Okay. Well, let's talk a bit about smarter and the integration of other channels. You mentioned mobile, and we'll say mobile ads. And I guess when you think about home and digital channels, you think of mobile first, really. It's been talked about for a very long time. But Ines, when we're looking at this in the omnichannel frame, how brands can integrate programmatic digital out of home in their omnichannel marketing strategies. But maybe beyond mobile, what other channels can work really well integrated with programmatic digital out of home campaigns?
I think that the moment that we are living right now with programmatic digital out of home, that is no longer like new because, UK it's been like 5 years, Spain it's been like 3 years. But we are growing very close with other media channels like, for example, connected TV, audio. And I think that we are all taking the advantage of learn from each other. And for example, on our side, Hivestack, we saw how connected TV, they were creating their curated deals. And we were like, why don't we do this in out of home? And we are the first SSP creating curated deals specifically by environment. So, for example, if you want to target a gym, gyms, you don't have to be contacting like 10 different media owners of gyms, and you have a curated deal that you have access to all that inventory. So I think that we are in a moment that we are also all trying to learn from each other to totally different channels, but that we can have similarities and that we can, join forces there.
I think outdoor and mobile have always been like really obvious bedfellows, right? You're out of your house, you've got a device and a screen. And I remember doing some work with Facebook ages ago, and Ian Edwards at Facebook talked about when you're looking up, it's outdoor. When you're looking down, it's social or mobile. So and Taptap actually comes from our background is in mobile and using sort of geolocation intelligence. I think. Can I excuse it's sort of a pitch, but it's also not. Thank you. It's more explaining what we do. So our planning cycle, we start with audience, understanding who the client's trying to target. Then we understand where those people are. So we'll map the whole of Spain, the UK into small squares that show these are the highest affinity levels for that audience. Only then do we start talking about channel. And I think that's really interesting because for us, the audience and the place are the most important bit. Okay. How you then choose to execute against those audiences, that's up to the client. That could be outdoor, which is screens within those areas. It could be geofenced digital audio. It could be targeting people on audio who have been seen in that environment. So commuters, for example, who aren't still in that space later, but they've walked through it to catch the train into London. Connected TV is a great similarity for me that I haven't heard talked about much. It is by design location based. It's in your house.
In your house,
You're walking around with a TV screen under your arm. So, I think fixed programmatic screen, outdoor and CTV, there's an obvious, home and out. So that customer journey, what Nick Ashley at Tesco called last week, from sofa to store, is around in-store with CTV and mobile, along the customer journey with digital audio and out of home, and then in-store for retail media, which of course is like a really hot topic. So that's kind of how we think about the planning funnel. So for us, when you're speaking to holistic planners and clients, they completely get that, because they're just like, great, you understand who our audience is and where they are. Now we need to talk to you about how to execute. Whereas often, agencies are divided by channels. So it's really hard to have a one conversation with brands through agencies sometimes, because there's specialist TV buyers, online buyers, social buyers.
So let's talk now about media owners. We've mentioned these sort of in passing through this discussion, but how important is programmatic digital out of home for media owners? How are they changing? How's the evolution happening? How are they latching onto this? What's going on? Ines, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think, it's all part of a process. First of all, as I said previously, I come from the out-of-home industry, so I have seen how out-of-home went to digital out-of-home in massive scale, and how from digital out-of-home we are moving to programmatic digital out-of-home. What happens is that media owners are very, in most of the cases, they are very traditional, and they're a bit afraid of what can happen to their inventory. So they are a bit reluctant. Reluctant, okay, at the beginning. But in the moment you explain to them and they understand, and they start to activate or include their inventory in an SSP like Hivestack, and they start to see that programmatic is a new sales channel. So at the end of the day, it's super positive for them, because they are, first of all, getting access to brands that they were not doing programmatic before. Their inventory is visible all around the world. So the massive scale, the worldwide scale that they have, I'm sorry, it's impossible if you don't do it this way. Also, when they start to work with SSPs such as Hivestack, obviously, we always think of ways to help them to sell more inventory and to make the best out of it. Like, for example, curated deals. I mentioned it before. So we are helping them. Like, okay, so this is your inventory. Let's join forces. Let's make to the buyers their life simple. And also, what is happening is that because digital out of home is it's a channel right now. Everyone is talking about digital out of home. It's like we were the Boris channel ages ago, and now we are the coolest one. So everyone wants to be part of it, and obviously lots of technologies are summing to the game, and we start to see lots of SSPs in market, and that's why last year Hivestack we created the header bidder, because we understand that a media owner wants to have different SSPs, and they want to work with different SSPs. So it's like, okay, let us help you to optimize better your inventory, to make sure that you are selling at the best price, and and make sure that you're making most of your inventory. So when the media owner gets to that point, everything is good for them, because it's easy. They don't have. It's automated. So it starts to get easy to them, but we have to go to that point. So there are markets like in the UK that I think that you're much more advanced, and there are markets like in Spain that we've done a lot in the last 3 years. Now we have like 16 media owners on our SSP. We are the strongest SSP market, not including obviously there's Bio, and we are the strongest SSP market, and it's
more going to come.
Yeah.
And that's a great example. So the header bidding is great, right? So it's brilliant for us as well. As a DSP, we don't have to plug into 25 different SSPs, and outdoor we plug into our main partners, and through them you can access pretty much everybody. But you can imagine the joy of explaining header bidding to some media owners that we're still, as you say, I don't know if you know this, but currently you're running a sequential waterfall, and we want to move you to concurrent waterfall whereby you get the highest yields. It's like, what? Don't worry, we're going to send you more money. And I think
that changes the conversation.
Because as always, right, technology is around talk about the features, but we talk too much about the features, not about the benefits. And I think one of the questions we get asked a lot when we speak to media owners is around cannibalization of existing revenues. And I would say that, yes, there are some advertisers who already buy an outdoor that will buy programmatically. But again, why wouldn't they? If you have a, again, back to the hay fever remedy, if you have a hay fever remedy that buys in a fixed 2 weeks and then some technology comes along that automates it over the course of the entire hay fever season for the same price, I mean, why wouldn't you want to cannibalize that? You have more space to sell to other clients. You can charge a higher price because the client's been more specific with what they want to do. That should be a win-win. Likewise, international. So Ines has recently been promoted to international sales director. Again, we also have brands that come to us and want to execute outdoor in 10 different markets. Well, that's 10 different media owners in 10 markets. That's 100 phone calls you have to make if you want to do that in the traditional way, or you execute it through a platform from one country, hands-on keyboard, that executes in 10 media owners in 10 countries. Right, that's the absolute dream. So I think, for me, it's about just explaining not how the technology works, but the benefits to them. They should they gain a free sales team. They control the pricing, so you don't need to worry about dropping the price. You still own your floor prices, and if an offer comes in less, you don't sell it. And then we used to talk about sort of money falling from the sky. When an international client from Korea books a campaign into France,
okay.
and the media owner's like, "Who the hell's this?" But great, I booked a €70,000 campaign for a technology brand I've not heard of before, a gaming brand in America that books out of Japan. But that's when the sort of the penny drops a bit, and people start going, "Okay, I can see how this can be harnessed."
So what I was going to ask about, because we saw huge growth last year, and as you say, I mean, I thought a while back, out of home used to be the most boring medium. It just was, and now it is one of the most exciting. It is. It's been quite an amazing change. But what do you think is going to drive the growth this year? What are you most excited about the year ahead? And are we going to see the same level of growth, do you think, as we've seen over the last 12 months?
Well, I'm going to talk about Spain because it's what I really know and where I've really seen, the evolution in the last 3 years. So when I started 3 years ago, there was nothing. I mean, I remember, Nigel just mentioned it. I remember, going to an agency, do you have inventory? No, I don't have inventory. Calling to all the media owners and building up the SSP. And the first year we built an amazing SSP. I mean, it was really focused on the SSP, get all the inventory, different venue types, and, as many digital screens as possible. And that was the year. The second year, it was the testing. So you start to see that agencies, that they have still their digital teams, out-of-home teams. You have to be careful with the conversations you have with the other one, because what you say here and the other thing. And you start to see, campaigns, and they start to test and they start to try. And you start to see real campaigns, and you start to see that it works. And the clients see it and they repeat. And the third year, you see how suddenly, in the agencies, how digital teams and out-of-home teams are starting to work much closer. And I think that this year IAB presented the results last week of advertising. 2023, 11% of digital out-of-home sales represents programmatic. 11% in 3 years. That's a lot. Digital out-of-home.
11% in 3 years.
Of all digital out-of-home, That's a lot in 3 years. It's massive. So, I think
the journey that online went, right, it took 8 years to get to 80%. And that's why I think I'm really bullish about this technology. It is going to come. I feel like it was at the tipping point. It was the year of digital out of home a year ago. Still a year of digital out of home and omnichannel. But the technology's there now. Agencies have access to the platforms. Pretty much all of the premium inventory in the top 20 countries now is almost entirely connected. So the barriers to entry that take time, you've got to build up the education and the connections and make those, make the inventory available. That's all happened now. So for me, I 100% agree. It's about scaling those tests that we've been doing for 2 years now. And again, if you think about, so that's a high 11%. I think some markets it's probably still a 4 or 5% still. So I think that ability to double year on year is really easy for certainly for the next couple of years.
What advice would you both give? I mean, I think it's interesting when something comes along and then people coming into the industry, if you're 22 now, getting into programmatic or doing an agency, where are you going to go? Where are you going to specialise? And suddenly out of home is the place to be. So what would be your advice, Ines? You're just starting your career maybe and you want to get into programmatic digital out of home. You see the huge growth potential. How do you take your first steps?
Well, my advice, first of all, to be honest, would be to be humble and listen to,
Good advice.
what, to what you can do and, and to open your mind. Because if you come from the digital business, you have to adapt your mind to the out of home and on the other way around. So that will be my first advice. And the second advice will be don't be afraid, really. I mean, programmatic is the thing right now, and it's amazing what we can do. I mean, we just have to see, the incredible campaigns, and I want to thank to the brands that are the ones that are the pioneer brands that are testing with programmatic, and they're showing to all other brands that this really works, and that it's here. So yeah.
Amazing, thank you. Look, well, let's wrap up. I want to hear from both of you. What's the one thing in this sector that most excites you in the year ahead? And we've talked about the huge growth, the amazing technologies, how it's finally here, how people get into it, and they're starting their career. But what's the one thing, first for you, Nigel, that most excites you in the year ahead in this sector?
Yeah, so I think we are a true omnichannel platform. And a lot of people, it's an overused word, a lot of people are omnichannel, but actually rely on other technology partners to deliver certain channels for them. We're built from the ground up to be location based, so inherently it works for mobile, works for outdoor, works for CTV. So I'm excited about. You talk a lot about omnichannel. It's here. It's not quite. I mean, it's online is certainly and social and search is all very much there, but CTV is very much early days still from what I see. Speaking to friends in industry. Digital audio is still quite classically sold by traditional sales teams that understand audio. Out of home is still small sections. For me, it's about hoping that clients lean into the ability through a platform to isolate and identify your audience where they are, and then execute across screens. And I think increasingly agencies are becoming omni-channel. Can I have two things? My other thing is around, the other thing is around retail media. I mean, it's surprising it's taken us this long to mention it.
It is actually. It's quite a record
outdoor is an
nowadays.
amazing connector for retail media. Not just outdoor, all of the channels we know will play a part. But, in the UK, for example, Clear Channel have Sainsbury's screens in store now. Tesco's have signed a deal with Deco for screens in store. So suddenly that barrier when you walk through a supermarket, it becomes an in-store brand, is becoming more open, understanding mobile data to understand where people have come from into a store and their behavior around that store, measuring footfall traffic. So I think being omni-channel in a retail media world, sort of one theme is certainly where I at Taptap am most excited about the conversations we're having with clients now.
That was a good extra one to have, actually. Ines, last word to you. What are you most excited about in this sector?
Me, I'm super excited because of all the global opportunities that we're going to have. And I think that, with the new role that I'm going to have to be able to see, how different markets are adapting to the programmatic digital out of home, and how I'm going to be able to use that information for the Spanish market and to keep developing. So I think the massive scale in global campaigns, and also the opportunities in creativity. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like how we can use the best out of our campaigns. Like it's, let's do more anamorphic campaigns, DCO, DMOs, like really cool stuff. And let's, do lots of case studies and share with everyone.
Amazing. Well, that's to come this year. Well, look, thank you so much for joining me. I think it's undeniable that programmatic digital at home is one of the most exciting sectors, and I never would have been saying that a year ago, or 2 years ago, sorry. There's so much opportunity for brands and agencies alike. So thank you so much for sharing your amazing wisdom today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Always a
Thank you
pleasure
very
seeing you.
much.
Goodbye, and thank you so much for watching.